Hey guys, welcome to the Plumbers of Data Science podcast. I'm your host, Andreas Kretz, and this time I'm talking to Vinoth Nageshwaran. He is a data engineer at Business Insider and has worked on projects for the New York Times, for Forbes, and we're talking about GenAI and retrieval augmented generation from the viewpoint of a data engineer who is implementing this. So he's doing a lot of work with this and a very, very interesting podcast. So have fun with this. Before we start, this is one of my new Hero Talks episodes. In this series, I want to bring on people who are data engineers, who have interesting data engineering stories, to want to show something interesting. So you can find these episodes always on our YouTube channel. We create a YouTube channel, Plumbers of Data Science, for this. You can comment there. You can find the links there that we mention in the podcast. And also, if you have an interesting story, we have a form there to Google Forms and fill this out. And maybe you're the next podcast guest on this channel. So have fun and let's get into it. Hey, Vinod.
Hey, Andrea. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. Welcome to the podcast, the first podcast guest in the new form.
Thank you.
Welcome. For everybody who's listening, the idea with this is to have people on who are engineers who are working on projects that give insight of, okay, what does the engineer do? What is it that, for instance, Vinod likes? And what are the problems and so on that we're facing, to give you a bit of an insight of what are we actually doing. So Vinod, I think let's just start. Maybe you can introduce yourself, a few words to the audience, what you're doing, what you're currently working on, and then let's go.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me for this podcast, Andrea. Hi, how? This is Vinoth Nageshwaran. I have 15 plus years of experience in the data engineering and data management world. I worked on various projects, starting from migrating from on-prem to cloud or from cloud to cloud. I worked on migrating from GCS to AWS, Azure to GCS, and wide variety of product range. And right now, I'm working on a POC where we're trying to integrate our internal documented system into a RAG model. It's pretty interesting use case where, like 2 or 3 years before, if you wanted to search anything, you go to a product system, search, type, manually search, and it gives you set of data. So now, with the advent of GenAI, where we can actually interact with your product or interact with your PDF. So that's where I'm working as a POC, where we wanted to, one other thing where, there are a lot of products in the market, especially with the LLM, where you can upload the PDF and get the answers you want. But there is a slight problem there. You are exposing your internal system to the outside world. So that's where the rack comes in. Yeah, that's a big intro, which I'm looking at the POC in my environment in the business China.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So Business Insider, I'm guessing you have a lot of documents there.
Yeah.
And as you said, the problem was indexing, right? Before.
Yeah, certainly. So, with the advent of vector DB, right? We are finding really good in terms of how the data is getting summarized and stored in the environment. So that's a kind of a game changer, I have to say. The way the industry works, once the LLM comes into the picture, the RAG comes into the picture, the indexing problem is more, but now it's getting resolved in a different way with the help of vectorizing the data. Then the vector DB comes to play. It's really helping a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you had all the information always, but how can you find it? It's hidden in some documents, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, wo- world is about information, a lot of data, but how
Yeah.
to search and get the out of information out of that. That's challenging in being a data engineer.
Yeah, that's true. What's your experience with the vectorization, with the indexing of the documents? Because I'm guessing you have very different formats of these. Like, how do you tackle this?
Yeah, so we tried with the different type of vector database available in the industry. Right now, I'm sitting down with the option where Snowflake, the cloud data platform, does provide an option to veteran CDB where we don't have to really worry about how to, managing the KDB. So they have a really nice documentation where you can get your things out, vectorize the data, not in the vector but in the vectorized format in a matter of like, I can tell you like, I was able to do the complete documentation and do a PDF into interactive LLM in matter of couple of hours. They have a beautiful documentation in place.
But then you have to do this in bulk, right? Like,
Yeah, of course, right now it's in a POC state, as I said, like I manually updated around 200 plus document. I'm still working on how can I integrate the live system, to automatically get that uploaded in the environment so that we can use that as a productionized system.
hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. You start always at some point where you're doing this manually, and then you have to engineering part. That's
Yeah.
right. You have to find your way of doing this. Mhm. So it's mainly PDFs that you're working with.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I, I was thinking about this lately as well, but I'm coming from a different angle. I was coming from an angle where I have all these YouTube videos and all these coaching sessions and so on, all my courses, and I could take transcripts and then feed that into through a RAG, feed that into an LLM, and basically have an Andreas chatbot who can answer questions to students, right? So,
That will be great. Yeah.
but I think it's not that. It's like you need a bit of resources for this to set this up, right?
Yes, yes. So, that's a bit challenging part, right? The compute is always the challenging part. Um, when we productionalize, like we have to consider about how the compute is going to work, the cost involved in it and so stuff. Yeah, so there are multiple ways to tackle this, right? So basically, we have to target what we're doing. Um, so the way I see it, the way I visualize, based on the rack system or any LLM or any kind of, interactive bot, it should be like a microservice. So meaning the way a microservice works, right? Like we're not going to invoke the entire plan of data set or a process to get the output. You just call in a particular bit of data or a service to get the thing answered. Likewise, the same way when you upload the data set or when you train the data set, when you get the model pick for you, it should be segregated in a such a way like targeting a specific set of data set, not the entire. Like I did a POC with a resume GPT where I mean I added it's a bit of late to my friend. So I uploaded a set of a resume and asked question from the resume and get the output. Like if I have to need a Java candidate who's 15 years of experience, so I talked to it and get it. So for this, I just used the small warehouse for training, so I put like the closer to 500 plus resume available in the market. So I just use small warehouse. It also can fine. And I have a separate service for that for interacting the resume alone, right? Likewise, if we can segregate the service or no use case based on the data set, like a resume one thing and a research platform one thing, an HR system one thing. So you don't have to club the entire thing and train the entire plan of data set to get the output. So that's where the more resource intensive, the CPU is intensive and it's a cost, going to cost you more. So if you can segregate the process based on the service you need and just target a particular use case, particular data set, I think that's going to be help.
By the way, for people who don't, because we already went into RAG and so on, can you give a quick introduction? Like, what is this? What does this mean?
Oh, yeah, sure. I should have done that earlier. So RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So basically, it, we are complementing the LLM model with a RAG. So meaning, say like you open a ChatGPT, you do a ask question with GenAI, it's going to produce output for you, right? It's just from the publicly trained system, right? What does the RAG do? You're going to add your internal source or internal data set to your LLM model so that when you ask question, it will first search your local system or the data set, whatever you appended, let's say like a PDF, right? It will first search your PDF, then it goes to the publicly available data. So what it does, it reduces the hallucination. Like you will get your appropriate answer. So say like you have an internal system to train onboarding people, right? You may have like pages of document to train people. If that new resource who's getting onboarded have some question on the process, right? They cannot go and ask the question in the chat GPT. It's not going to go because it's not trained on your data. So that's where the RAG comes in. You use a publicly available model to train with your local data set so that when you ask question and it refers your data set and provides the answer you need. Did I answer?
Yeah, I think that will. I hope this was awesome. I understood. So, as an engineer, like when you look at this from an engineering side, because I'm like I can't answer this. I haven't done this myself in a company and so on. Like, is there a line where you say the engineering work stops and the science part starts, or how would you see this?
That's a very good question. So as an engineer, right? Like the way I say, the engineer role mostly is tuned to the process where you feed the data to the RAG model, right? So whatever you feed, at the end of the day, someone need to, validate the output and confirm things are high and tune the model. The scientist comes into the place like where they wanted to tune or, use the proper parameter, update the parameter to the process and see what is output. As an engineer, I would say the process is more limited to developing a pipeline, right? From the local source system to the place where you are going to train the model to develop the pipeline. So one such example I can tell you, you have your local system data in your like a Confluent, right? So Confluent may have a cluster-based document. You may have to write an API. Now consume the Confluent document and put that in. So I can take quick overview of the POC which I'm taking of, right? The first step, you have a Confluent document, right? You write a Python code using an Airflow, like you did that in an Airflow, where constantly ping the document system to get your document. Then you ingest the data set as a Snowflake environment. So take that document and ingest that in the Snowflake internal stage. Once it moves the Snowflake internal stage, you can have a task where the task reads that ingested document and run through a set of process to train the RAG model. So that's where the engineering pipeline comes in play. But actually, validating the output and how it's performing as per the expectation. If you want to add a new parameter or reduce the parameter as per the expectation, that's where data scientist role comes in. That's where Dr. Russell comes in.
Yeah. So basically, it's the extraction of the data from your sources, feeding it or transferring it to the target platform, and then basically then looking at the data quality and so on to make sure that once it's vectorized, once it's in the database, it has a good quality and it can be used by the algorithm then.
Exactly.
So for me, that sounds always a bit like stuff that we have always done when the topic of machine learning came in. Right? Isn't it like, I think it's almost the same thing. Like whenever you had a data scientist who was training a model and it wasn't an LLM, it was with some deep learning or something. The data engineer's job ended when the data was available to the scientist very often.
It's kind of yes and no. Yeah. So, so earlier the availability of open source model is low. Like you could find Facebook Profit and you can, give some handful of model. But now everything is commercialized. So everyone has the access to the, model. So yeah, in a way it's yes and no, everyone has the access to the model. we can train and we can run through the process. But the core things still remain the same. Data engineering, development pipeline, coordinated to and they can upgrade.
How would you say? You said like a lot of people nowadays it's easy to train because it's commercialized. Like how much training do you really need to do when you do this process of okay, I'm going to take my data, I'm going to vectorize it, put it into a database, and then I have a pre-created or a pre-trained LLM. And you said how much training do you really need to do for that LLM there? And is that difficult?
So yeah, that's a bit of challenging. So in my experience, it's all depend on the data quality. The more the data set is, error free and it's more better quality data, the training process will be comparatively easier. But if your data set is not compromising on all the parameters you're expecting, your data set should it should be the combination of all the parameters you're expecting now. But if that is not the case, you have to train or more and more data. Of course, like the more the data, the quality of teaching would be better. I would say like run a couple of times and see it's more of a trial and error. At least I'm not a data scientist. I'm a data engineer. So the way I'd say it is more of a trial and error and see what's the expectation, what is the output, and is it matching when you practice the LLM model, right? Like if it is matching, if not, okay, retrain, update the more data set, more relevant data set, see how it's doing.
Okay, so this would then lead back to the engineer, right? At some point, let's say the training just doesn't work. We need better data. We need different data. Then it would come back to us, and we need to go and we need to get other resources. Or
That's both. Yeah. Yeah.
interesting, because I was always under the impression, and as I said, with the whole rack thing, I'm not the expert. I was always under the impression that you have your pre-trained LLM that is basically able to talk and able to understand stuff. And then you have your RAG and you have your data store where the stuff is indexed or vectorized. And then you don't need to do any more training because the LLM knows how to talk and it knows where to look. And then it's going to retrieve you the information. And that's it. So,
Yeah, it's kind of it's no as I said right now. In my experience, right, when I said a bit of field algorithm GPT, the more data I give, the more retrain the process with the actual internal data set. It was performing better if I rerun the training for one more time.
interesting.
Yeah, that's a real world use case. So I had the same thought process, and I thought, it's already trained. You don't have to. Maybe it's seems out, but are in a different form or format. Like when add more data set, more rerunning, retraining, it, it might have with a different output. I'm still, as I said, it's still under POC, but I'm pretty sure the more data, the more you run the training process one more time, the result is good. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So basically, you're building this in the cloud. You use Snowflake, but there are many other
Mhm.
platforms. So there are multiple ways of doing this.
Yeah.
And how would you say, how complicated is it for somebody to set up a proof of concept?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not closely agnostic. You can use, as you mentioned, any technology. And I would say, like, of course, if you're a data engineer, if you wanted to play with the RAG and LLM model, we go to high hours. You need to stick together. Just it won't take more than that time. The- There are a lot of documentation available in the internet. So
Mhm.
if you really get that old and go through the documentation, you can get. Honestly, like I sat around one Sunday around 2 o'clock. I got up and running. Of course, like it's the initial version, up and running by 7. So it don't took much time. Documentation, real good documentation available.
Okay. Okay. Do you have some documentation resources that we can link below the YouTube
Yeah,
video?
yeah,
Can you
good.
send me something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can.
Cool. Cool. Then we're going to put this
Huh,
below.
sure, sure. I'm happy to come. Yeah.
So would you say this is something that every engineer now should look into because it's such a big trend, the whole LLM thing, Gen AI topic?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So the use case is like infinite, right? Like you know what is need to be done. You can customize this product for your individual organization or individual corporate, even for a personal use case. Right now, I'm trying to do some raw research work for my personal thing, right? So today, if I have to search my research document, like I have to manually search stuff. You know what? Like the one best use cases I think of, like being a technical person, you wanted to upgrade yourself on doing certification, tech certification, right? Immediately you have to make sure you upgrade it. So what I did, like I uploaded the tech cert, the documentation. I downloaded the documentation and uploaded to the right model. And I started to interact with it. Hey, give me a set of questions. I'm going to, do the interrogation. Give me a set of question on this topic. It gave me like 5 to 6 questions, like really meaningful. So, uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's your personal use case where you can do that. But honestly, you can do the same thing with ChatGPT as well. Um, but doing something with your local environment to be more beneficial in terms of it will store the result. I think taking it will, I want for 30 days or something. So that would be long.
Yeah. But on the other side as well, for us as somebody who's doing this just for fun, ChatGPT is okay. But I'm guessing from a company view, like Business Insider, you don't want to put your
Yeah.
company data on ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not what you want to do. I know many companies, also bigger companies, also here from Germany, they have their own internal LLMs now, basically their
Yeah.
own internal ChatGPT. Of course, it's not as good as the real one in most things, but uh,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the more you work on this one, right? I was contemplating when I was developing this or working on this directly with this stuff, right? I was contemplating whether should I just do an API call with ChatGPT and get the answer back, or should I develop this one? It's going to be the same. Not same, like, but still you are exposing your asset publicly. So
mm,
definitely you need a rough kind of architecture in place. So the way I see it, like in a matter of years, it's going to be like your Excel sheet, like
mm.
across the company, everyone going to have some kind of product model in place to interact with their local data set.
Another thing that now that we're talking about this, you said earlier it's like about the use cases and different data sets for the use cases, and that's a thing. Like within larger companies like yours, there are always these things where you have different departments and
Mhm.
you don't want to share the data, or not everybody is allowed to see all the data, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So how would you how would you build this into that? That's something I'm thinking sometimes about. Like in a business scenario, you don't want to create one big model and then
yeah.
there's everything in there, because I mean, corporate espionage is a thing. We can't just put everything in there and trim with everything, but you most likely want to have different departments with different rights. How would you do this then? Have you thought about this?
Yeah, yeah, yes, certainly. So, I can give it more use case or thought process in the way in my environment we can hit the account, right? We can have a same account, but different stages. When I say stages, like Snowflake internal stage, it's not on Snowflake anywhere, right? The storage pattern should be different. The model should access only to the data center the particular department have an access to. So at the end of the day, you go to train your module on the data set, or you're going to ask your RAG module to access the data set which you wanted to give access to, right? So within the company, within the organization, if you wanted to segregate that thing, the way I see it, we have to make sure it's kind of going to be the same, the any RDFB among environment, right? The role based thing. There you're going to give access to the particular user and role, right? Here, you're going to give access to your LLM process where before the pre-vectorization, we have to give access to a particular page or the data store to a particular data set, right?
Yeah.
So that this particular, say, like journalist, right? The journalist should not have access to HR system or I'm just making up.
Yeah, I know.
So we can create an environment, a cage environment or data store where we upload just the journal related document there, right? Not the anything else. So we can give access only to the engineering team who are related or working related to journalist team. Just give access to that. And the HR system create a data store where they only have access to the HR system data store alone and train the process on the particular data set. Data system, train on it, data set, journalist data set, just work on the journalist. So convey and segregate. Yeah, that's a very good question actually. And the deep way if you think, access to my knowledge, we don't have anything to segregate other than this way. Maybe have to explore more because I don't think so. We have any access control for LLM. Very good topic. Thank you.
I think you mentioned before the thing that, okay, let's deploy this as a microservice. And so most likely you have the microservice and you have your like Active Directory or something
Yeah.
within the company. And then you could say, okay, when you do the API calls, give it this information, or the API will get that information of the user and the roles and the groups, and then you can split this. Interesting.
Not another way, but honestly speaking, I think the deployment may be a bit complicated because like you're gonna have one system putting that the way when the answer comes out, right? Yeah, there's multiple ways. So,
But it's going to be an interesting topic because right now, I'm guessing a lot of people are working on proof of concepts like you, right? We have a cool idea. This can really help us. Okay, now we made the first steps. It works. How can we roll this out in the whole company? Because you don't like if you need to train something for 100 departments, then that's going to be
yeah, I see your point. That's true, true. Yeah, so that was fine. Yeah,
okay. Cool. Yeah, as an engineer, it's always
that's
interesting.
a big gain of props. Good.
Yeah. Have you thought about how many resources this could take? Like if you say, okay, I'm good. Let's say I'm rolling this out for multiple departments. Like, is this something where companies have to spend a lot of money, or is this just we say, okay, this is reasonable? Is this an expensive tool if you say I'm rolling this out big?
So I don't think it is expensive because you're not going to train the model from the scratch. So you're going to have an already trained model. All you going to do, you're going to vectorize the data set, rerun one more time, just make sure everything is fine. Then you're going to start integrating. I think it's very easy, and to my experience, it's very easy to integrate and adopt and deploy. So it should be fairly straightforward. But the one challenge, as you mentioned, if there is going to be a microservice architecture and if the data, that's a really good question. How to, segregate between the departments so that the data is not getting shared. That challenges would be there. Maybe there we have to think about it. How easily linear integration should be done. I mean, like once those process comes into place, maybe we have to think really good on how to segregate. But if the company doesn't have a problem of adding the data, it will not be straightforward.
That's true.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's an engineering problem, right? That's a typical engineering problem
Yes. Yes.
that we're running. Yeah. Or do you think this is something like are companies going to run this mostly on the cloud, or is this also something where a company like I'm always thinking about these huge here in Germany, the car companies and so on, where they say, okay, most of the stuff is all laying around in our data center that we have for the past 20 years. Like, can we just set up a small, like a few servers and run this there? Like, do you think that's something that people are going to look into as well?
So that is always the conversation. Like I read an article in Economist, like I'm right around December 2021, where most of the people, some CIOs felt like cloud is not their cup of tea. They wanted to go back to the on-prem. So cloud is particularly, double-edged sword. Like if you utilize it properly and if you have a tab on that one, it's going to be helpful. But if you slightly lose the, insight, the cloud costs could go high. And to answer your question specific, Andreas, like, yes, of course, it is possible to have it built and deployed on local on-prem environment as well. I don't see any problem there. But of course, like the custom, any on-prem solution, problem, right? We're going to face the same similar kind of problem there when you deploy LLM in
Hmm.
local, like compute power and space and stuff. But that's
Hmm.
the challenge today. But deployment wise, if you ask me, it is doable. Yes, of course, it is doable.
Hmm. Cool. It's an interesting topic. As I said, I was also thinking about how can I use this for my academy, because I think it would be a really cool thing. I haven't gotten into this. Maybe I need to create a course for the students, because you said now everybody should know this.
It, it made a cool tool, right? Irrespective of your profile or being a data analyst or data engineer anywhere, like this is the real cool tool. It's kind of the way I see it is more of a productivity tool. Like it's going to help you to grow as a person. It's going to help you to think about it, right? If you want to, you can search, you can talk to your document, matters a
No.
lot. Like,
Like, what would you suggest to people now when they want to get into this topic? They have their laptop or their computer and they want to get into this topic. How would you suggest people to start with this, basically tool wise? What would you say should they get? Is there some very simple or tools that use not so many resources that you can run this on your normal computer?
yeah, of course. It's pretty much possible. Like, I'm a Python guy, so I prefer Python. So a basic Python knowledge if you find. As I mentioned, like I can share the documentation related to the this deployment. Um, maybe 4 GB laptop is more than fine to install Python. Maybe I have to think about it one more time. The LLM, right? There are different packages that are available. It may consume a bit a memory, but you can get this up and running just for POC and play with your own data set. It should be fine. You can get this deployed in your local laptop.
But is there a vector database that you can very easily set up that is absolutely low, that uses low resources
Yeah, I think
for a beginner?
Postgres better for vector.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. One of my teammates tried to explore that one, so we did try as an organization. I don't think that's resource intensive you can have in your local environment.
Okay. So that people start with, okay, we have some documents, so we're getting Postgres, and then we're using a Python script to vectorize the data,
Mhm.
and then use the pre-trained LLM for the retrieval, and maybe a Streamlit user interface or something.
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Teamlit is like a game changer. Especially for the people. I'm not a front-end guy, so I'm core backend person. So Streamlit gives an opportunity for backend people like me to develop a UI in my house.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this a lot. I use this. Did I use this in 2 or 3 courses of my academy? I don't remember. In a few courses I used this because it's like once you know Python, it's super easy to set
Yeah.
up and to use the. In one project, I used it with a map where it was basically a contact tracing app. I thought about this during 2020, basically where I created a data set where people are visiting stores. And then you were able to, okay, look at this person. And then you could see, okay, here on the map in San Francisco, that person was. And it's like Streamlit is very powerful.
Yeah, well, you can very good. Oh,
I think Snowflake bought them, right? Didn't Snowflake
yeah,
buy the whole thing?
yeah. Streamlit, Snowflake does have integration. Like we can pop that up in one again. Environment.
Yeah. Okay. Because I haven't heard about that much. I was thinking that once they acquire this, they very quickly set up something like Looker on GCP, where this is fully integrated. It's one click and you can explore all your data and so on. But I haven't heard that they are using it.
It's effectively getting you. Like we had a hackathon meet where I tried to explore using Streamlit and both the external function. So basically, what I did for that one, if you wanted to write an API, right, you have to write a request command. Good, not complicated, but you have to manually write code and deploy. I developed an app using Streamlit in Snowflake environment. I developed a front-end UI using Streamlit, provide the connection details and the endpoint. Just click a button, it will create a function for you, Snowflake UDO. All you have to do is just call that UDO. The data will be, from the call from the endpoint and load it into Snowflake. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe now Snowflake is promoting more on LLM. So I don't see. You're right. I'm not seeing much advertisement there from Snowflake on Snowflake, but it's already there.
Yeah.
Running. Yeah.
Cool. One thing I'm interested in, and it sounds very interesting, like the job that you have. It sounds like you can try out a lot of stuff, and it sounds like you're in a situation where your goal is to do proof of concepts, to try out things for the company to improve the company.
Yeah. So my boss and my organization is always, I just freedom to do POC and stuff, explore stuff. And we have hackathon week every year, like where every engineering team work on this stuff and, you know, I did this on the output. And if it's really good, we'll promote the custom product. And that's what, yeah.
Cool. But is that like that you are in more of a central position within the company, or are you in one of the outside is the wrong word, in one of the departments?
Yeah, I'm in product content, so more of data engineering.
Okay. But because that's always the question, like who is developing this? Is this steered from a central way that you have these data engineering teams, you have these centralized organization, or is this coming from the outside, from a department where okay, we are having problems and we have somebody here who can develop, and is the department pushing this?
Huh. So basically, we are a problem solver, and we take the problem, we solve it, or sometimes we get the problem, we solve it. So it's two-way communication. It's two-way happen.
But basically, your job is getting these problems and then solving these problems for
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
That's amazing. That's a cool job.
Huh.
So you're basically working with all kinds of departments within the company.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. That's very cool. So, what do you see for you? Like, let's get towards the outlook. What do you see in your intermediate future? What are you looking for next?
Personally, I want a piece for everyone. Hmm. So yeah, and career wise, like yeah, I'm seeing myself as right now. My role is a data engineering. I want to see myself, director, senior director, leading a department, and
Cool.
provide valuable insight. I'm more, as I said, like I'm more enthusiastic in doing POCs than solve the problem. I love to solve problem, especially technical problems where I mean, when it's a technical problem, right? At the end of the day, all the business problem you get.
Yeah.
I always love to think about what is the output. I envision the output, then you design the solution, right? So if you envision what is the outcome of a process, then the solution will be easier. So it's not the other way around. You cannot just design a solution for a problem. You have to envision the output, what is going to be there, how the user is going to interact, how the customer is going to how to yeah. Right, I want to, right now I'm doing engineering role. I want to do that one.
Mhm.
If you one day.
But for you, is this then, are you gearing or are you looking towards this retrieval augmented generation topic? Like, do you think that is the direction you should go to reach your goals? Or is this more of a, that's too niche?
That's a good question. Yeah. So, um, right now, that's one of the way I would say, not the way. That's one of the way, like grammatical ways. I think in a couple of days, the AI and ML, you cannot survive in the data engineering world without working on, you know, ML pipeline or AI pipeline, right? So of course, like this is the way the technology getting improvised on daily basis, especially on the data world. Yeah, this is one step forward, right? Yeah, of course, I'm pretty certain this will be helpful to as an organization, as an individual, need to up and up career ladder. This will be helpful.
Cool. there was a time where you had no idea about this, and then you got into this and built this proof of concept and started working with the tools and so on. Was this for you like a game changer? Like, this is something completely different. I need to get into this, or
Yeah. Absolutely. I was always trying to get into the AI. So more until before this one, like I was more of true custom data engineer, right? Develop a pipeline. You have to find a stable. They work on the data. Now this gives me an opportunity to think from scientist to as well. Vectorize the DB and see what parameter can be optimized, how the data can be clean. So this gives an opportunity. Like personally, I felt like so excited because I can do a 360 overview and see what is happening on the scientific world, like the science world. So right now, just before this engagement, I'm more of pipeline developer. Like I work on various pipeline on the science world. Like 1 week I invented like LTV model. One of our, analyst was working on the LTV. I was helping him and creating a pipeline. Now with this RAG and so stuff, I have a lot of thought process being an engineer, right? Now I can think about how can I enhance or my perspective on thought process really getting changed once I got my hand dirty with this RAG.
okay.
I would prefer like if you're pursuing that engineering, please have hands on. You'll feel really excited. It's a really cool thing. Not just a personal, it can propose a lot of productivity improvement within the organization.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I think that's a nice end. Where can people find you? Where should they follow you?
I'm more of a LinkedIn guy. So I always love to help the people. Anything on just not on this one, anything. Wherever I go, I frequently meet in the L. You can meet me on any meetup that's available. I'm in Dallas area, so you can find me on Dallas with the group meeting, or you can ping me in LinkedIn on
Yeah.
anything on my journey or anything, you know, on uh, being a data engineer, getting into an AI and ML world is always exciting.
Right. So then let's send people to your LinkedIn. I'm going to also put into the description your LinkedIn.
Sure, sure.
So when you want to learn a bit about what's the data engineer doing in this new LLM field, I'm guessing you're going to post also, or you're posting also about this, right?
Sure.
So
I'm working on it. Yeah.
yeah. So follow Vinod there. Yeah, Vinod, thanks a lot for being here. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. I mean, I love this podcast. Like, my brother introduced me to this podcast, honestly. So since then, like, I'm following a good thing I like about this is more of interactive. It's more of talking to a friend and listening what is happening around the real world, just not
Yeah.
question. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's not all business here. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Vinod. By the way, if you are listening to this and you want to be a guest on this, I'm also going to put the link to a form in the description where you can apply to be a guest here. Okay, Vinod, thank you a lot. And then talk
Thank,
soon.
thank you.
Bye.